the yellow Drikung Seattle Center prayer book. All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering. Swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering. And swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path to attain essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Dewa Dakini Ratna Mandala Praticha Soha. Namo to the Guru, the utter purity of all appearance and existence. I offer all appearance and existence arisen as the primordial ground. I supplicate you, may the three realms be completely liberated. Please grant blessings to empty samsara from its depths. Lord, with five omniscient wisdoms, crown, ornament, kind one with loving nature, precious protector of beings, heart of all Buddhas, inexpressible by words or thought, I supplicate you from the core of my mind. Bless me from within the state of Dharmata. Bless me to realize this mind primordially pure and unborn as the unfathomable Dharmakaya. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles and the teachings common to both according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Hello, Naropa, Marmetabu, Padrin Jigan, Marva Melachuji, Gamba, Pomochu, Hajavan, Drikung, Gaju, Amana, Zurbandes, Nature, Bosan, Money, Champions, Semen, and Rovaguna, Timber, but then Atisha, Zurbande, Dajan in the Chancho, Mato, Jibar, and just in Jamna to show the Chancho, Jomat, Chancho, Simjation, don't you better show Jibagun to Young Donna, on the Michu Bela, Juna, Satan, and Jian, Terrabo, Dorjee Chancho, companion to show. Oh, tene samala some dele sure.
So Tashi Delay, hello everybody.
Oh, tene tang around to the Jiken Sumgon, Chelsea, Chelsea symbol, Tenji Jeju, Tino, Shuyar watering. What in do Tambo and Jiken Sumgon, Lord Jigten the Sumgon, Chicago, the Mountain and Chicago. But then Jiken Joe and Jiken Sumgon, Tini, Tango Lurop Kitu. What that is, though you potential mumble, like long scene, what is soon get the
So today, the topic or the text that we'll be teaching from is the Co-Emergent Mahamudra by Lord Jigten Sumgon. And so first, to talk a little bit about the history or background of Lord Jigten Sumgon, which many of you are already familiar with, but it is said that Lord Jigten Sumgon was an emanation of Nagarjuna, and his coming was foretold in many sutras and tantras.
Oh, the cheat and Tangananso. Contumiate, Jetansina, Tumiate, Common Tron, the hook, Cetera, Come Gawa, etc. Tronde. What in Tronet, Tumiate, to so take Carisana. Jigton Jigja, Jelocina, Jigton Jigja, Ship Shasona, Tron, is.
Jigten Jigja.
Ship Shason.
And so his birthplace, the region of Tibet in which he was born, was Kham, and specifically Gawa. And the date that he was born is believed to be 1143.
Oh, the cheat and Tata Tron, Lo Jeja, the Jesh Samba, the Tron, the Lord Jeja Jesh Samba, the founder, Sabe.
Jeja Jachu.
Oh, Jeja Jesh Samba.
And so it has been, 880 years approximately since his birth to the present day.
Oh, the cheat and Conta Tambo, the Chungong, the Chamning, the Chimbo Yoba, the Shemba Mandal, and do cheat and the Damanda, Kashi, Yamland, or the Yamland, Yabo Chung, the Ruchi, the say this.
And so from a very young age, he was said to display signs of kind of very developed qualities of love and compassion. So he was already from a very, very early on different from others in this way. And he, from an early age, he started receiving pith instructions, Dharma instruction, and was putting it into practice.
Oh, then that Jela Terakun 公路你是咱个西面出来很少，真的，公泡沫出吧，以前就是空就别每次才把弄见的，他真就不真也特别好吃上，我这路去怎么过呢？真的，要为了特别好吃的是。
And so when he was about 25 years old or so, he heard the name of Pagmodrupa. And just hearing Pagmodrupa's name, he became filled with a very deep and special feeling of faith and devotion. And so at that moment, he decided to travel to central Tibet.
我这早能够拍我这边他人不有多小当，这样子做，哪怕这种东西，哪怕这种当然浪漫节都说的，我这种节出去嘛了，让生产线但泡沫出，除了客端节用，咱们打真头去咱们把嘛去我钱呢，真的公要打为了拍，但你嘛看情况，嘛不过我就他人不了，我真头拍呢，真的打泡沫出来，电视台来拍对，这样的这拍我啥的，真这样子做。恰的做比较红的，那边主办人咱们，我这个呢一个这茶碗是从那从嘛那边主办人咱们现在没回去吧，就把这里，我想多。
And so the journey was very long. It was a very long journey. And at night, he would see the moon. And all he would think of, was this would sort of continue, urge him on, thinking, when will I be able to see the face of my precious guru? And he was, kind of worried that maybe he wouldn't get to meet him. But it took many days. It was a very long journey by foot, and when he arrived at the place at the seat of Pagmodrupa, it was at night, and he along the way he would hear the sound of different birds, the calls of different birds, and he would think, this is an emanation of my guru. This is everything that he came across in his journey he saw as an emanation of the guru, and this caused him to give rise to a deeper feeling of devotion.
我真的泡沫主办节，听节红就在空去罗马中，他唱诵，你嘛在空罗马桥上唱没种就是了吧？当年罗马唱嘛，他唱诵是真的，强求性去东巴那呢，这强求性把人间毕业是蛮大，我打成就挺多。
Jigten Sumgon Rinchen Dorjee. And so when he finally arrived and met with Pagmodrupa, then at that time, Pagmodrupa declared that now all of my disciples have arrived. Now the assembly is complete. And it was at that time that then he bestowed the Bodhisattva vows. And when he did, then he gave to Lord Jigten Sumgon the name Bodhisattva Rinchen Pal, or the glorious precious one.
真的泡沫出来，咱们车上那真的空过程中，要俺做呢，这空两眼的人看了，这样多些泡沫出来，突看通电几天钟突看了，天上来真的，这罗马上面通久的，我真的在穷多。
And so all of the sublime pith instructions were given in their entirety by Pagmodrupa to Lord Jigten Sumgon. And then at the time of Pagmodrupa's passing into parinirvana, many disciples, many students in the assembly saw that a golden vajra emanated from the heart of Pagmodrupa and dissolved into the heart of Lord Jigten Sumgon.
真的，大泡沫出来，在公巴做茶，两眼的茶那公，大都我们家的，我们这要不嘛种嘛去，真的这里的在家，这那啥家，这接不对。真的可能泡沫出来，老嘛做就说咋从咱们按照学在，其他的那种这里，但那啥都家的是，忙不在通道去什么多，那啥别都家的是。
公他这是要不公嘛送公他。
公这里家不着。这里呢，好多老马做，有了泡沫出来，老马做过，做这成都 开始跟对了家呢，前他们家拿了妻子，我这里学的工作开始动作可能前面到底那才可能我忘记了上。我这样对的，别人就跟我们的偷叫我们查子，把英雄故事在那我们家地上的，我知道了，他等着开始挣的，等着也不挣么多。我们这你妈这他他们他现在啥的上的，先说呢，你那些的那他哈啊，没先把这那成果上申请红啥的，这里没去那边啥的，反正的，破完家把冲的这啥的上，我这城里人咱们当时我讲。
And so after Pagmodrupa's passing, then Lord Jigten Sumgon was meditating, and after some time, he actually ended up contracting the illness of leprosy. And so many students, knowing that he was the successor of Pagmodrupa, came to him wanting to receive his blessing. But then there were many others who didn't want to come near him because they didn't want to catch his illness, this leprosy. And so Lord Jigten Sumgon became, he disheartened, feeling kind of the challenge of the illness. And so he went to meditate in Echung cave. And there were some signs that weren't fortuitous, some signs that showed that maybe he would indeed pass away. And so he was thinking that probably in a short period or in some days or so, that he might die. And so he thought he should go to a faraway place where so that if he dies, no one would touch his body, and therefore no one would contract leprosy or become sick. And so his plan was to then practice POA and to go ahead and to leave his body.
당가 케마도 토모트반도 남아 상제도 특신지 남아 자신보도 스톱 당가 신나 케마도 다 심지한 현바도 토모트바 이 남아 토비오 말라메자 남아마도 심지한 현바도 좀 인계 신보쇼 전총这件잡쇼 쇼도 현잡쇼도 나서다 남상남도 차안도 쇼바 인계지 쇼 진루라 총도.
And so as he was ready to leave, there was a Chenrezig Tanka in his cave, and he prostrated to the Tanka. And as he did, there was great compassion in his heart, but also great sadness. And he thought, like on the one hand, he was feeling this sadness, but then he thought about how fortunate he had been in his own life. That he had met his guru Pagmodrupa, who was the Buddha in person. That he received these extraordinarily precious pith instructions, and so then he thought, if I die, there's no problem. He felt like he was ready to die, and there was no difficulty that he had himself in confronting the reality of his own death. But then he felt great compassion for sentient beings, who didn't have such a fortunate situation as he did, to actually meet with such an extraordinary guru, to receive the pith instructions, and to be able to practice. And so he had this incredibly immense compassion for sentient beings arrive in that moment. And then due to the power of his great compassion, this actually ended up curing him of his illness. Shamasum.
Shamasum Nimashe Dora, Shamasum Nimashe Dora. Shasum Chuking, I wrote Mako, what I shot from the Nimashi Gante, Chane, then Chazachimbotopa, Chone, 타소 마보 시에세 도주 땡초 탐지 세 콘스 추데레 tenu chao sarwa.
And so he instantaneously was cured of his illness. And at that time, there were many, he actually saw leaving from his body the forms of like scorpions and frogs and many, kind of like a goopy black liquid, but he was immediately healed. But then what it ended up sort of displaying was that it took him 3 nights and 4 days to fully recover. And then at that time, after this period of 3 nights and 4 days, he had a deeper realization of Mahamudra prior to this experience. And he had ever realized, and he saw the faces of many deities appeared to him. And the understanding of, the entirety of the sutras and tantras was born in his mind stream at that moment.
Tati naza ti tokpa ti shaar te chi te mambo te teba chi nya yo sare te te nzeni nasa jab de zo kon pa chinhap chi ba zang lamsang chang ro ya o tenru chong do
Wait, zene naza
yo jo ma tenru la kon chinhap chi du lamsang chang ya.
And so he gave rise to this new level of understanding and realization. And of course, he was cured of his illness. And so many people, again, had very strong faith arise. And there were many throughout the land who also were sick with leprosy. And so they came to him seeking his blessing. And in receiving his blessing, they recovered. They also recovered, or receiving his blessing, they recovered from leprosy as well.
Tene da kong te pamo chwe loma zobo tso tene pamo chwe jarsam dong nga zor densa le ha pamo chwe densa le pamo chwe jarsam dong chendong chi nga zor te chindo.
And so then all of the closest disciples of Pagmo declared also, became very clear that Lord Jigten Sumgon was the successor of Pagmo, and they did performed an enthronement for him following this. An enthronement ceremony. Sumchu Gare? And
Genya Dombad man, Yosamate, Sumsunga, Daniel Dorton,
and so up to when he was 35, up to that time, he had been a lay practitioner. And then at the age of 35, he took the vows of a monastic. He took the monastic vows.
Tene Pomo Tree Densa John de Dutene, the Chawat Hankashi Kaya when Yeshua Samari, Chawakashi Chand and Tony Bada. Or ten do the Pom and the Kanson, these caption down the 3 hour marriage, Chawat Chantona. Or tell us the natural Chawat Maganam Jordan and Chanton, Gawaja, Mararepa Gawajabs. Or Henry Lavsho said, told you one, Sean said. Or they told you one that you get the Pomo Tree, she said, that's Manara Madus. Parchan, Chola Sons.
Pagmo Drupa Shelzig?
She said that Danning by the Gamadus, that was Chang Chos, standing by the Corons of Party Chos. Was on door, Danning but up to dance at Rwa, but the Corons of Party Chos, and after Madu, such a human Chos, Chang Chos.
And so as he remained for some time at the seat of Pagmo, there were some monks who had, really poor conduct, and many of them were drinking alcohol. And so Jigten Sumgon sort of scolded them or called them out for their behavior. And many of the monks became angry and said, something to the effect of, if you have a problem, take it up with Milarepa. And so then Jigten Sumgon became kind of disheartened. And around that time, he had a vision of Pagmodrupa, who told him not to remain there, in the place of his, Pagmodrupa's sort of seat. And he told him instead to travel to the north. And that to let those who were there to sort of hold that seat, and for Jigten Sumgon to travel to the north and establish his own seat in the north, to the north. And so he left together with some companions, some other monks who were his companions at the time. And little by little, they traveled north, and eventually they reached the area of Drikung. And that was where then the new seat was established. Chitong Chigja Dunchu
Hongula.
Dungula.
Lord
Jibja and so then when Lord Jigten Sumgon was 37 or so, that was the time when then he established the monastery at Drikung, or the seat his seat there in the region of Drikung. And it was about 1179, so maybe 844 years or so ago.
The China then Drikung Tea show net and the Lama Mombo Drodon John, then a core beyond bomb charges. Bunduya, beyond bomb jets, do ya. Or Tenrichon, stuff who Lordjuna, depends on what Mandunio, Marie Lapchi. Or the cheat in a that nails on Conrad Zare Lapchi, Conrad, them chalk in Lapchis on Kine, Zare token nails on.
Wait, Gongtati Tsari Garigine?
Them chalk token. Or that nails on Lama Mombo.
Gangri Gari Sung?
Cariguine.
Cool. Lapchi Sung.
Zare took them chalk was on token nails as well, Lama Mombo down, Vanyam Nachinia down. Or that and Ruchi in a Nesom Dapo Java Drikung said Labiachon. Or Tenruchi Natane, our chon, then you can't get some wounded remark. That's the Juju started, and Drigunga use Gandrigungsena, and Drigung such a thing, Chata, Russian Driguns. What's it? Teria. The Driguns such as a Carson Sonsia Gambo, Lomboje, Sonsia Gambo Euro. Sonsia Gambo Lombo team and dresser Conton second, dresser Conton.
Lomboche.
Lombo team main dresser Contons.
De
Sere Conton.
Gunton.
What in do Driguns will cool me my current exercise are what he such as. And Driguns then dread a continuous or do Callan, dresser Conton, dread the continuous for do and Driguns such as Yama Coran Zonte Lombo dresser Conton. What is such a main tone? Then Driguns he such a tenure in the war. What that remark that Drigunga you set a chonroa.
And so Lord Jigten Sumgon ended up, there were many disciples who gathered around him. So he had a following of hundreds of thousands of students, 100,000 or more than 100,000 students gathered around him. And this was said to be more than any lama, had gathered, prior. And so in Tibet, And so many of these disciples practiced in the various holy places. So in particular, there were a number of like a big group of his followers meditating at the holy places of Chakrasambhara's enlightened body, speech, and mind. So at Sari, which is the holy place of Chakrasambhara's heart or mind, at Mount Kailash, which is the holy place of Chakrasambhara's enlightened body or form, and in Lapchi, which is the holy place of Chakrasambhara's enlightened speech. And so there were many practitioners who meditated in these holy places. And Lord Jigten Sumgon's fame and renown spread throughout the land, and he became known as Gyawa Drikungpa, the great victor of Drikung. And so the name Drikung comes from the region, the place of Drikung. It's named after, so we have, for instance, the monastery in Drikung Til, which is the seat of Lord Jigten Sumgon. And the way that the region, so, of course, we refer to the lineage as the Drikung Kagyu. So the Drikung is what, comes from the name of the place. But the place itself was named after a minister of the king Songtsen Gampo. So the first great Dharma king Songtsen Gampo had a minister by the name of Dri Siri Guntung, and then this became sort of like an abbreviation of this minister's name, Drikung. So Dri being the first part of his name, and Drikung being like the first part of the last part of his name. And so the Drikung, the region of Drikung, used to be where he resided or where he was from, this minister of King Songtsen Gampo. And so that's where the place got its name. Or that's how.
then Jigten Sumgon Sumgon China that both Jubisa higher, as Jubisa Gemata.
Potigati?
Jubi. Jubjure, Tangema, Jetan Mambo use the Gravata, who could Lord Jul Nessun Mambo Chung your Tigan, Gomba, Dragon Gomba, Chante Mambo Chung Yorova. What then do Auntie Tafadi or Mishiman Saturday? What Jubjes are your race, Sumbom? What the cheat in a con Taguno Dunch, Guno Dunch Tongal, Tanyang and the Jigton Nija, Jubdu.
Jigton, Nivja,
Jubdina, Compator, uno di Sonegan, the Compatore. What that's indexed. What that Jitan Compator, Yang and the Talo or Jejat Chose, what in Rosh Sari.
Jejat Do. So Lord Jigten Sumgon also was, there are many of his teachings that were compiled into what's called Sungbum in Tibetan, which is like the collected works. So the collected teachings, the collected works of Lord Jigten Sumgon, which these days is comprised of 14 volumes. So there are 14 volumes, but actually prior to this, there were probably many more. But as throughout the years, many of these writings were lost. Also, the various different situations that have arisen in Tibet since then have caused, different portions of these collected works to be lost. But now there are 14 volumes that remain. And so then Lord Jigten Sumgon, when he was at the age of about 75, he passed into parinirvana. So that was around the year of 1217. So approximately 806 years ago or so.
Well, then, Jigten Sumgon show the continent, Pamotre Dansari, Talagambo Dansari, Taporum Dansa, what it's Samat and Galan, Dragon Tea, Samanyam and Galan, the Sola Leka Jachimbo Chiores,
Gonta Yamter, Gonta.
Tata and Lavia Zedi, so then Jigten Sumgon show the Gala, Pamotre Dansatan, then Talagambo Gambo Dansa. What is
Tagla Gombo?
Oh, Gambo, Tapo Dansa, or Tea Samana in Galan, Yamso Mambochi, what Charlie Mambo now your is.
And so one thing also he thought to mention was that, during Lord Jigten Sumgon's kind of time of great activity, he also took charge, or also became responsible for the other areas that were very important to the lineage, like the seat of Pagmodrupa, as well as Tagla Gampo, the seat of Gampopa. And so he became responsible for these areas as well, and accomplished great activities there.
tene dangarang su tene zabe jati gang song da chakchen henje je jor se song do chakchen henje je jor chakchen henje je jor ten de chakze chimbo henje je jor ngo chu ma re me si xian nang wa xie che ba shu so song do tene
Di kapar tu kumta.
zabe jing go te main tin do
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's yeah, chichina loglela taco sare gain sananga sanga print on money. Okay. So the now to get into the actual body of the text. So the introduction to Mahamudra, which is the co-emergent unification. So it is in the very introduction, there's the writing just beneath the title that says, an ornament which is the luminosity of the primordial awareness that dispels the darkness of ignorance. So this is the sort of the full title.
tene da jatang si cha se ne da ni smi be xie se ma la de ce种 cha ni smi yi xie ja se den kurwe jian du sin karwen do ba le pa chuo to bia den res qianbo se song yu ba dun me dam song le
Chimbo?
song yu se wa da jatang qin ne cha se ne zai be xiao na de xiao na dong ba se ne da tian za li cha de ma la de ce种多可是呢cha se呢你咪xi mo song ya zhuang miu de se lu nang tong yi xi mo song ma nga cha tong
Lu nang tong
yi xi mo song ya tang de ne nga cha tong nga cha tong yi xi sem de tong yi xi wo de shi wo le da zhe zhu le da cha se de ja se de kare se na da ku be yan du chuo se yan du kan du chuo go se na da qi yu yu dan yu nang wa na so xing ge wa这松亚yu te le pa chuo song song ya ja se na da ja se na te le wa na so dan zi ya dong ran zi ya dong te le chuo song ne zi sa de wa de na chen be do so ka ru na ti chang ba yang de ba pa chuo song ne wa de fa de da song ji ni shi ba de lo yi kin to ba pa song ji ni shi be lo yi chen to ba pa chuo song de la den ko be jian du chuo
dupa sungyo be
on do ba ra ta pan do ba te pa chuo song jian du ne te ja sen dam xiao na tin do ba pa chuo song res
so chi yu la nangwa not so zimba
nangwa na so song se yu je yu wa yu song se yu ti ja te pa chuo song ne chen be do so zu an sem zi ba do ba te pa chuo song ne da fa ta song zi ni shi mi ba na so na ka na na chang ma song ni shi mi ba xie ne lo yi do ba chuo song le zhe la o le jian du chuo de ne 前部从就准备当先呢，他前部从就准备当先呢，可是是呢，这人多，但是这当个电通你是没吧？从就现在电通从就吧，我电通从就吧，这可是是呢，让先那路要不从通从呢，东阿这样能够做嘛的是，电通你
要不
那路从通呢，先可能你从通从呢，先那路通从呢，那东阿通过个嘛的是。我这电通写了不是， What's in it? Something as God, something they will you, but something they will me, but it matters. Good number good to ya. They were on by Yermi and Jason. You to Matoki, nonsense, the Yatela, that they don't enemy. What in it? Courageous to stores, or that and do the malaria pits and do the door.
And so the first word being, in Tibetan, the first word is Mahamudra or Chaja Chimpo. So the cha, which is the first part of the word, chaja, so chaja being what is translated as mudra. So the first part of the word mudra in Tibetan being cha is referring to the non-dual primordial awareness, the non-duality of primordial awareness. The ja part of the word chaja is referring to the liberation or the untying the knot or freeing the knot of samsara. And then the chimpo, which is maha or great, is the lamp of indivisibility. And so the first part of the word chaja, which is mudra or seal, sometimes Mahamudra is translated into English as the great seal. So the first part of that word that makes the word seal in Tibetan cha is referring to these different aspects of like body, speech, and mind, or recognition of the true nature of body, speech, and mind. So the recognition of the primordial awareness of which is the union of appearance and emptiness. So the recognition of the body as the union of appearance and emptiness. So all the body referring to all form. So all form is recognized to be that indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. And then the sound or speech is recognized as the indivisibility of sound and emptiness. And the mind is recognized as the indivisibility or the union of bliss and emptiness, the primordial wisdom that is the union of bliss and emptiness. And so again, these two terms, so cha and then ja, which is the second part of the word mudra or seal, is referring to that untying or the freeing, the liberation of the knot, untying the unraveling of the knot of samsara. So first there is the unraveling of the knot with regard to the fixation that regards outer phenomena as real. So all of the outer appearances being grasped at as, something that exist in juxtaposition to the subject, like subject and object. So it's the fixation to the object. That fixation unravels. The knot of that fixation unravels. And then the other side of that subject object fixation, the subject fixation, likewise is that knot of fixation is unraveled, meaning all of the thoughts, all that arises inwardly, all of the thoughts, the discursiveness, the emotions, and all of the phenomena or appearances that arise inwardly, that fixation unravels. And then everything in between. So both equally, the subject-object fixation that is not of duality is unraveled, and one is able to abide within the recognition of the non-dual nature that is beyond subject-object fixation. And then the chempo, or the maha part of Mahamudra, or the great, then it again is referring to specifically in terms of the mind, this union or indivisibility of bliss and emptiness. So when the true nature of the mind is accurately seen, then there is no stain of discomfort or suffering. One is no longer bound by suffering, because one dwells within the ongoing state that is this union of bliss and emptiness. So ordinarily, when that nature is not accurately seen, then there's a lot of kind of ups and downs. Sometimes the mind is doing well, sometimes we are happy, and sometimes we are unwell, or sometimes we are depressed, or there's suffering. But when one abides in the ongoing state, the ongoing recognition of this essence, which is the union of bliss and emptiness, then there's a continuity of this kind of ongoing blissful awareness. So this is how Milarepa explains the meaning of the word Chaja Chimbo or Mahamudra, the Great Seal.
What languages? What are the Gumbo Vickers on Sana? Simi language by Choji Gurs. No one language by Chokus.
So Simni
language by Choji Gur. No one language by Choku. Oh, the Chen Nansen in me languages. No one the same year me by languages. What is on your what did you do? What is Awachi? What a George said that in Yamnachia, that's also Yamnagantam, Yamna Jorgo, Yamnachine, 100 Joros, or Nerokan Yamnajuria, 100 Joros.
So then the second part of the title, which is the co-emergent unification. So this word, so Linchik is what is translated as co-emergent, and Jor, which is translated as unification. And so the co-emergent part is referring to, so when we hear the word co-emergent, we think, okay, well, what is this co-emergent with? It involves like the two kind of something is co-emergent. And so what this Mahamudra is co-emergent with is the mind itself. So the mind and the true essence, or the true nature, which is the uncontrived or unelaborated, stainless nature of awareness, is what is co-emergent or naturally inherent with the mind, or in the mind. And so the way, that's one explanation. And then the way that Gampopa specifically explains this is that the true nature of the mind itself is the Dharmakaya, and the true nature of appearances is the Dharmakaya. So the true nature of the mind itself is the co-emergent Dharmakaya, and the true nature of appearances is the co-emergent or is the light of the radiance of the Dharmakaya, the co-emergent Dharmakaya. And so it is appearances and mind, the indivisibility of appearance and awareness, or appearances and mind that is co-emergent. And then the second part here of this title being co-emergent, and then unification. So the unification, which is Jor in Tibetan, is referring to the practice. So it is like together with this realization of the true nature of awareness, which is this co-emergent nature, is to be practiced, or in that recognition is what is to be developed through the practice.
Oh, then that's in Otu Mare Musis or Motu said, and Modoya, Simin Haji, so that's all. Sam Nelo to Modoya, the Lango tools. Marek and a Tangatu, Simjantamji, Marek, with jabs of the Hura, or the Marek said, Nero to the Mantoma, the Marek, Sam ni tan ji ta Sam Sam de ke ne lo ta ze sang ji re ta so so tong xiu ma wa wa de man tong wa de la ma re wa de ma re me si ta men ba si ya de ne nyam na ngo chu che ne ta men ba pa si so ya ma re de ya de chi men ba pa si do ya wa de yin du ti yi xie na ma wa de yi xie na wen jian se de wa xie che wa xiu so wa ta de nu da la xiu se wa.
And so, as it says, it is an ornament which is the luminosity of primordial awareness that dispels the darkness of ignorance. So, it is what is being said here is that when this introduction occurs, this introduction to this this absolute nature, the Mahamudra, or which is the co-emergent unification, then the ignorance in the mind of the sentient beings who receive this introduction is cleared away. So the obscurations are lifted and the true nature is directly seen. And so for sentient beings who do not recognize that their true nature is the awakened awareness of Buddhahood, once that introduction is received and one becomes initiated into or introduced to that true nature, then it is that introduction itself which clears away the darkness of ignorance.
Oh, tene da tere ma ro da se che ba sho so tere ma son da je mi nam da chwin nam ka lang ga mi tu je wo tong ji ba ro ye ma re ma ba sin ji lama tam ba nam na chang cha do wo da je ba mi ba chu ji yin sen na ze lama chu ji ko sho sa nam ka da be xiang do ga pa mi ba tu je jun chi me le da sim tian tong ze ya wo na wo je ya da lama long chu zo be kun dong wo ten ro ye ma re me si ma ba si ya da lama tu ye kun dong lama go zong tang chang de lama tam ba de cha che ro wo da si cha che go ya de ke san na cho ba ju ba si dan cho ba ju ba ti na ma zo den chu de la chen ham ju tu ya a ne zong ba de tar chi tu ya ba chi me yong ya ti pian ge re is wo tian du tin cho ba ju ba si.
And so then we have the homage, or the first verses of the text itself, which says, to those who dispel the darkness of ignorance of beings by expanding 1,000 rays of unceasing compassion through the sky of the unborn, pristine, pure expanse of throughout the sky of the unborn, pristine, pure expanse of phenomena, to all sublime gurus I pay homage. So first, the sky of the unborn, pristine, pure expanse of phenomena is the Dharmakaya of the Lama. And then the expanding 1,000 rays of unceasing compassion is the Sambhogakaya Lama. And then the sublime gurus, who are the Nirmanakaya emanations, to all three kayas of the gurus, then homage is paid. It says, I pay homage. So to the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya of the guru. And so this is the homage, which is a traditional section at the beginning or in the introduction of a text, which is sort of intended to set the intention for writing the composition and also clearing away any potential obstacles to the composition of the work.
真的牛马两节级别一些简单路期间，这玩我这吧，都就出点那没中心，都先了平时上边这把钱是我他总把他们家吧是。 我他总把他们家呀，这了他这样的点球他妈我介绍对嘛年不图呀了，总就图呀偏头有的是，我听对他牛马两节级别一些是牛马两节级，那他牛马现在sem跟内陆的两节级别一些的，我的是我情况我这样内陆情形我这样的，都就出点很多，他上节很多的就这种，这样的嘞。 南面中心的是我的南面中基本面了，都就他说，可以龙堂点的了， 다 상제가 두고 그래. 상제가 만두나 저거 말이 되는데 상제 송탕 두게래세. lama kome ki chan am dama na he so da wa de shi song xin de xian de pian bei zang ba de wa de xian de pian ya qi de zai xian de da pian cuo ge de zang ten de qin de ngen zhe jin si da.
And so then the second paragraph of this, as it says, with the intention to benefit others, I shall write an introduction to the clear revelation of the mode of existence by the co-emergent primordial awareness in conformity with the sutras and tantras and as taught by the guru. And so this section is what is referred to as the commitment, the commitment. So it's the commitment to compose the work and to carry it through to completion. And it is, this commitment to, not end up, to not have any faults enter the process, and clears away sort of any potential obstacles there. And so the first part of it says so it is it says, so the wording in the Tibetan is a little bit backwards, but the first part of it in the Tibetan is actually what comes later in the English, the innate co-emergent primordial awareness. So this word innate, which is referring to the fact that this is the true essence of the mind. And so it's saying that, I shall give a clear introduction to this innate co-emergent primordial awareness, and specifically in conformity with or following, in accord the teachings of the sutras and tantras, as well as, as it is taught by the way in which it is taught by the guru, but it's not just according to the speech of the guru, but also in conformity with the sutras and tantras of the Buddha, because it is important that whatever it is that is composed is in harmony with or is in accord with the words of the Buddha. If it's not in accord with the words of the Buddha, then something is wrong, something is not okay, not correct. And so being in conformity with both the instructions of the Guru and the speech of the Buddha as it is written in the sutras and tantras, then I shall write this text for the benefit of others, specifically with the intention to bring benefit to sentient beings.
他的这天中的多句特点，那么中他的这个多句这种开心不的是呀，这天中的往前当中有了，可是中像家常给别人用骆驼意思，家常给人用骆驼意思，家常给别人用骆驼意思，骆驼多吧，家上节家给的那用要不说在那的骆驼多吧的意思，所以我这的做我的上节家下呢，那我这的。
And so the importance of the kind of accuracy or the importance of the any kind of teachings, Dharma teachings, being in line with or in harmony with the teachings of the sutras and tantras is also stated by Lord Jigten Sumgon in the Gongchik, when he says that anything that contradicts the speech or the teachings of the Buddha is a sign of wrong view in experience, or that one's practice, it is a sign that one's practice has gone astray. And so therefore, first and foremost, one should follow or adhere to the teachings of the Buddha. And so then it says that and actually this part we don't have here in the text, but it says that this text, this composition, the co-emergent unification, is comprised of 3 parts. There are 3 sections. And so these 3 sections are first the preliminaries or the ngundro, and the ngundro consists, or the preliminaries consists of 4 sections. Then there is the actual, like the main part of the text, and this it consists of the 2 types of introductions, the 2 introductions, and then there is the conclusion, which is explaining the way to sustain the practice. So the first part, the ngundro, or the preliminary, so is, it's most important that with any practice, first we have the sense of refuge. So we have a mind of refuge, taking refuge in the 3 jewels. And also very important is the attitude of renunciation. So first, we develop this sense of renunciation through, for instance, the reflection upon the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. But if you take all the 4 thoughts that turn the mind and kind of condense them into what is kind of like primary importance, or sort of the essential essence of the 4 thoughts, they're all really contained within the reflection upon death and impermanence. So this is really the most important reflection for cultivating an attitude of renunciation. And it's so important to have that our practice is founded upon renunciation, because if we don't have genuine renunciation, it's so easy to become complacent, and to not really feel an urgency or even really so much inspiration to practice. So when there's real renunciation in the mind, this gives great energy and power to the practice. And so that first, it says, having generated a strong sense of renunciation by contemplating death and impermanence, completely abandon short-sightedness. I don't see what he said here, but he said that that together with this sense of renunciation is a mind of real disenchantment. So what disenchantment is referring to, this disenchantment itself is renunciation. And so with a deep sense of disenchantment and renunciation, then we should think about, as it says, those who were born in the past have died, those who are taking birth are destined to die, and those who are now alive will die. And so there is nothing, in the past which hasn't displayed the qualities of impermanence. Everything that was in the past has deteriorated, and all those from before have died. In the present, there are, those who are born now will definitely die, and those who will be born in the future will also die. And there is no way to tell, when this time of death might strike. It can happen at any time, and so then when we have a strong sense of renunciation, there's great benefit in urging us toward dedication to the practice. Then there's diligence that arises. And without renunciation, then there isn't so much diligence. And so, as is said, the revulsion is the foot of meditation. So disenchantment or revulsion is the foot of meditation. And what this is referring to is what revulsion means is renunciation. And so this renunciation is so important.
저는 Jigten Sumgon 대송도와 가르치나 메타 고미아텔라 지상chen 배 망보 샤야 안다고다 long the require 망보 당야 요레스 이나다 제 망보이 마이나다 소소줄소 메타 제야세 야고 제고나스 다랑리 겜바 카시시티 어제 랑리 차마로 총트로 카시시송 어다랑 그거 해바트로 카시시송 어제서 야고 삼노 당나 메타 줄을 제야 팽게레스 어떤 메타트 주 야보 마치나 치메 통도야 디스칼레 카보레스 용마레스 메타트 주 마치나 세치마 통도야 냠나치야 지시라 용마레스 어때 주제고레스 어때인도 나이나리 세니 도 세니 바이나 카레나 어떤 메타 주시야세 디스케 쳔보레스 송도와 어때 지수마라레 베송오레 메타 남지 치변적인 relationships 난 치변적인 relation 남시참이 삼삼네스
치와
치변적인 relations 단 치변적인 치바 신앙제네 따라 초송인스 어떤 남시참이 삼삼네 치변지파 혼티스 어떤 가두시홍 시홍산 대류제 냠내 치홍도 레전 치변지파 참마다 제시스 어떤 치변지파도 제송 세와가도 제토야 그래서 냠내 야고는 치변지파도 파타토고와 어떤 하이다 치토그리 고레스 어떤 한 말에 비춰서는 메타 곰베 레로 듀레자스 메타 치바 곰베 레로 듀레자스 메타 치바데 곰데도 레로 냠냐치야 레로 두 테레파 야카 토핀도 잔로신도 오종요로 어떤 엔도 땡가 좋게 침보제치
And so there are many examples that are given, or different ways that we can reflect upon the truth. Rere. De tatung le yo marawa. Or mareve.
No, depends on what the zone bed, Mambo Yores.
Oh, okay.
Bed, the river, and say Mambo Daya Yores,
Oh, okay.
Tina, so Jua Juja, Sapuna, what it is.
So Lord Jigten Sumgon says that although, there are many examples that are given, on how to reflect on impermanence, different ways to sort of reason with yourself and think about and reflect on, why there is this truth of impermanence or how it manifests in a way to really cause impermanence to arise in the mind stream. But Lord Jigten Sumgon says that really the best way is to think about, those that who have died. So there are some who are older than you that have died. There are some who are your same age that have died. There are some who are younger than you that have died. So really thinking about those examples, those that are kind of close to your heart that you know directly, and using that as a means to really come into contact with the truth of impermanence, then this allows this truth of impermanence to really arise deeply in the mind stream. And so it's important that we reflect on impermanence in such a way that it kind of arises from the depths, that we really feel it in our bones. Otherwise, if we don't really know the truth of impermanence, if it doesn't arise in this way deeply, then we won't actually be able to practice fully, that our practice won't progress as easily or as deeply. And so whether it is in the context of sutra that we are practicing, whether it is tantra, to reflect on death and impermanence is so beneficial and so important for the practice. As Milarepa has said, it is in fearing death, that led me to flee to the mountains. And then fleeing to the mountains, I meditated upon or contemplated death again and again. And ultimately, this very contemplation caused me to overcome or to become completely liberated from the fear of death. And I no longer have any fear. And so this is the outcome. At first, we have a really clear sense of death and impermanence, and this then spurs our practice. Really becomes a source of inspiration to the practice. Ultimately, through the power of the practice, then the fear of death can be overcome entirely. And so, also Milarepa says that it is death and impermanence that conquers the Mara of laziness. And so again, this reflection on death and impermanence is so crucial to the practice.
남장 심지한 코로나 거데 동아요로 어디 저거 랑 샘 내로 마시레스 샘 내로 마시에도 nga 제 손도 효로 랑샘 축인 방고 마시도 나세 요 말데 nga 마드롬나 나세 손도레스 어디 다미 다송 어디 라미 랑제 손도 랑 제바르젠지 샤나테네 다와스 네 차당스 저기나 차로 그러지 랑아 세제 용나 현 세제 용거래 어떨 때는 차당 차로 그때 별은 인계 공스 어다 참 인계서 공부 그래서 참바서나다 아테리 그래서는 참바 아서나 심지한 대화되나 som나 참바래 인계서 다 동아트야들이 어떤에 장조 샘세나데 인계 동아트리 발심지한 동아를程度 요바 시랍의 조장 심지한테 상제 통도 썸노 요바 어떨라다 시랍의 심지한테 상제 통야 썸노 동아트리 파타네 인계 심지한에 매바 시랍 조장을 매바스 시랍의 조장 조 상제 통야 요바 들라 제 장조 샘 쓰기로와 어떤데 다지 장조 샘 공부레스 그래서는 아주 다다디 배자 그게나 고음지 틀려 참판이 인종 고음지 틀려한테 참된 게 차디고 어떤 루티 다 고음자한테 참는 게 창조샘도 개침 보레스
And so then, as it says in the text, then meditate on compassion for all suffering sentient beings by reflecting on how they, not recognizing themselves, not realizing that their mind is the truth body or Dharmakaya, grasp at an I that does not exist, grasp at a self that does not exist. And so then reflecting with love and compassion upon the suffering of all sentient beings who don't recognize that their true nature is that of the Dharmakaya. And because of this inability to recognize their true nature, then beings helplessly cycle or wander in samsara simply because they do not recognize, they do not know their true nature, the true nature of their own mind. Not knowing this true nature, even though there is the truth of non-self, or there is no I, they apprehend an I. Even though there is no self, they apprehend or designate as a self where there is no self there. And so therefore, having apprehended as self, then we have the duality of self and other. Once there's a designation of self, there's a designation of other. And so then there is the cherishing of the self. And then in response to what is conceived of as other, or anything that threatens the well-being of the self, there is aversion. And so one falls into the constant push and pull of attachment and aversion. And so it is all based on this fundamental misunderstanding of not recognizing the true nature. And so the response to this is compassion. So meditating on compassion, love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So love is the wish for all beings to be happy, or it is that mind that wishes for the happiness of others, and compassion is the wish for beings to be free from suffering. And then bodhicitta is the twofold aspiration, that which is based on, the objective of which, the compassion, the objective of which is sentient beings, and then the wisdom aspect, the objective of which is complete awakening. So this bodhicitta, which is the union of compassion and wisdom and compassion directed towards sentient beings, and the wisdom which is directed towards awakening, both for oneself and others. And so this together with the reflection on death and impermanence, we also have to cultivate the mind of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And then, as it is said, the activity of compassion is love and compassion. So the expression of practice should be the qualities of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So it is so important to likewise cultivate these qualities of heart.
但今天中午这种强求sem比냠用的，强求sem比냠用的点呢，这里来说，东儿错是这里，这东儿忙不些了偏，东儿忙不是偏都是，我听对，听话全部3个年来吃药，Drupon就是年来要不吃药了，吃了用药，这开始个是，那个的怎么的，那个开始投资，前边强求sem的有没，投的都是，我听对强求sem别开全部。 恐怕就这种，它就总有类似。我这人就是总有的，我这人让人用，不是用的意思，我用嘛了。我这他你这几波去见让啥呢？其他偏个嘛的是，我讲别讲一个人的落呢，一个落来咱们偏个嘛的是，让现实的其他偏个嘛的是，别讲这些呢，免把这肯对了，免把这那把这肯对了，免把这个，他免别这种忙不见那把这肯对了。 落下那把这康也偏个嘛的是，我这对做我这开个才能够做强力的强求sem的，要不说久了，这图表情呢，我真的成就起他们要我的是，我真的，我在做那强力的强求sem的用呢，做那错的，那个说强力的强求sem切中了，但呢做那错切中，如果做切中成就用个的是，我这对这强力的强求sem的开全部都是。 어때네 말아래 비커서 잠도 닝게 곰곰니 라겐 지바 지니티스 잠도 닝게 곰곰니 라한테
제 밀라카레.
말아래 비 잠도 닝게 곰곰니 라한테 현이 본 지바 지 송스
잠당닝 제 곰네.
라한테 현 지바 지 송스 라현 어때나 이장아도 제 잠니게 한도도 곰고 그랬지 개침보래 알아서 소외 나이나 개침보래 그래서 잠니게도 야보나 메신바 가오치기로와 어떤 조조치나 냠한테 잠니지 창조선도 상제 투자 대소미 바래 텐디 개침보요레스
공타디 제마디 아포코마소 강투투 제나
아
케치.
다시 지나는 어떤 소외 나치나 뭐좀 가오치게 잠니게 야보를 마소 마삼에 야보 지기래
소외
소반하 나도 니看소반
인가.
나도 디디 좀보강라 안
아하.
좀보강 소반라 그런 소디가 좀보강라 대 잠니게 야보제 원하더니 뭐 참아가고 지게 야고 편토요레스 근데 최치마에 나데 장초샘데 장초샘데 상제 투그레라 어센데 진이 편그레 어텐데 그래서 양내 양냠나 지야 개침보레스
So karedi penatina nepacheki dunla men mangbojana la ime.
맨 망보 말에 맨페 망보 맨 희자도 망보 로나
Oh yeah.
맨 희자 요라 맨 페노 어때서 망보 로나 네발레 페노 하야요 마르시랑 나산디 키펜게레인디 맨 페나 드루도 셀로 마로 펜버 마레스
Naso.
레베
So as Lord Jigten Sumgon said, it was primarily on his, based on his experience of meditating upon or generating profound bodhicitta that he recovered from his illness of leprosy. And so the power of bodhicitta is immense. It has the power to overcome manifold sufferings, all sorts of different types of sufferings. And when it comes to practice, for instance, the kind of signs of accomplishment or the enlightened activities of secret mantra, that which is of like primary importance or the most important factor is the presence of bodhicitta. So it is the presence or absence of bodhicitta that really determines the accomplishment or the outcome of the practice. And there are many Kagyu masters of the past that have stated this. And so it really also comes down to one's direct experience. So like what is really the experience within with like the degree that bodhicitta arises in the mind stream. Apart from this, following after, sort of getting caught up in sophistry or following, really kind of just taking the Dharma as a topic of study and just really becoming sort of proficient in the words doesn't become ultimately very useful or beneficial. It's sort of like and Drupon Rinpoche said, like, for instance, if somebody is sick and then you give them a lot of... Sorry, and Jigten Sumgon actually said this, that if you give someone who is ill a bunch of information, like written information about various types of medicines, you give them this to read, and then they read all about the medicine. Oh, this is the medicine benefits this particular thing, and that medicine, will benefit in this and that way. If the patient just reads all about the medicine, there isn't any benefit that it can really have. It won't do anything to actually heal the illness. And so it's the same with love and compassion. One has to really develop this within. And this becomes actually the fuel for the accumulation of merit. So one's accumulation of merit is like directly proportional to the love and compassion in the mind stream. If there is a great deal of love and compassion, if the love and compassion is strongly developed, then the accumulation of a merit becomes very great. And so that determines the size or the degree of the merit. And likewise, as Naropa has said, it is in meditating upon or cultivating love and compassion, that I was able to cut through the fixation fixation to self and others, or the kind of dualistic fixation of self and others. So again, to whatever extent we're able, it's really important to cultivate these qualities of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. It will benefit us in this life while we're living, while we're alive. It will be of direct benefit. The benefits will be obvious. We'll become harmonious with others, and we will experience the direct benefits in this life. And it will also go on to benefit us in future lives, and will ultimately lead to the ripening, of Buddhahood, or the result of awakening and Buddhahood. And so so then that covers the first section of the preliminary in the text. And then the second section of preliminary is the Guru Yoga. So the Guru Yoga that swiftly instills blessing.
Lame Tunda Demba, Rank Zonam Soli, Shiba, Tamse Gubeju, Centam Beji Demba, Kawan Bomb to Bombay, Lama Giji, Chamber Bomb Charman, Deba Saya, Lame Zonde Lanjiga, She, Zombatan, Simjantam, Zobe, Sanji Tobar, Chatichi to Lama Guki down, Zorbanda, Ran Yedam to Sivi, Jibor, Rambochi, Chip, Emma, then to Rank Lama, Zabe Lama, Tini. Sanji Durjan Shangun Namban Centam Beji Demba, Shien Zoma Tandemba, Toding and the Yambar Shabi, Rana Anji Shaba Jihim Gomba, Jube Lamana, Lama Jibe Lama Swatan Jiba, Sola Kachar Papa Shinto, Tukala Tempe, Lama Gundu Chosu Sanji Chancho Simba Yedam Tamchijan, Yamna Sanji Gundu Gomna Choba Namjanchu, Lulonchu, Doba Domi to Pukin, Yinkon Rebeding, Mopata Duma, Dumi Sanji. Lama Sanjay Rinpoche la Jabson Jibo Dangzi Loye Tongwa Chinjelo, Rumi Jula Jiba Chinjelo, Zene Ransim Jimmy, Shaba Toba Chinjelo, Tumi Ransa Taba Chinjelo, Nancy Chokun Charba Chinjelo, Shezoba Dabe, Zurban Debishin, Name Lama Sanjay Dukuke, Gun Chewa, Jimba, Tukala, so Hiji, Dusi Jun, Rank Samo, the Marfa Tse, Tomami Ban, the Lenga, the Reps, Namse Yamcha. Tajin Sami, Sapami be Shijula, Dosicam, Lu, Yenchini, Chong with Zampi, 2 years Zorban, Tunsam Jola, Namba She, Sino, Natarin Shemash, and Number Shijichi, Lama, Chen, Yambe Mohu, Dunga Chimba, Zampi, Chima, you are Chin, the Gabgas, Lama Rana, Timbe, Gusong to Rankin Dunga, so you meet Jeba Zampi, and Yambar Shah, Geva, that's a mal horse, remember.
So then just reading through this section, which is a little bit lengthy, it says, the roots from which develop all experiences and realizations are the Guru's blessings and your devotion to the Guru. The Hivadra Tantra says, unspoken by others, the co-emergence cannot be found anywhere. Be it known that it arises from following the Guru for an extended time and from your own merits. The display of Samaya also says, meditating for 100,000 eons on a deity who possesses the major and minor marks is not equal to remembering the Guru for even a moment. Better than 1,000,000 mantra recitation in a single supplication to the Guru. Thus it is said, and therefore you should think, I vow to attain complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and for that I'm going to make supplications to the Guru, who is the embodiment of the 4 bodies. Visualize that your body is in the basic form of the Yidam deity. Above your crown, on cushions of lotus, sun, and moon, on a jeweled throne, sits your root Guru. His body in the form of Vajradhara is splendid with the major and minor marks. His face has a blossoming smile. His mind mind is evenly set in various samadhis, and he is delighted with your presence. Having meditated thus, dissolve the root and lineage gurus into the guru's heart like drops of rain and flakes of snow melting into the sea. Thus meditate on the guru as the embodiment of all gurus. Likewise, dissolve all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Yidam deities of the 10 directions into the guru and meditate on him as the embodiment of all Buddhas. Having meditated thus, make offerings of all kinds. Offer your body and wealth unhesitatingly with heartfelt devotion from the core of the heart and the depth of the bones, and say, I go for refuge to the precious Guru Buddha. Please bless me so that I may give up self-grasping. Please bless me so that needlessness dawns in my mind stream. Bless me so that I may instantaneously realize the unborn nature of my mind. Bless me so that confusion may become purified in its own place. Bless me so that the appearances and possibilities may manifest as the Dharmakaya. Thus, upon supplicating and visualizing the Guru, the embodiment of all Buddhas, a stream of elixir of the primordial awareness flows from his body, his forehead, throat, and heart, etc. As the elixir enters and descends through the Brahma aperture at your crown, it washes away all the non-virtuous deeds, obscurations, and samaya transgressions of beginningless lives in samsara. Your body becomes filled with the stainless elixir of wisdom and longevity, and an experience of joy dawns in your body and mind. Thus, supplicate in 4 sessions. 4 activities between the sessions are: think, I may die today or tomorrow, so what is of any use? Think with heartfelt devotion, O Guru, please look upon me and fill your eyes with tears, and fill your eyes with tears by the mere remembrance of him. At times, imagine that as the Guru dissolves into you, his body, speech, and mind merge inseparably with your body, speech, and mind. Thus, set your mind evenly in equipoise, and then dedicate the virtue.
that's it. Jitang tan lame nenjor washa. Lame nenjor jitang arang sungun to na yorwa. That's na ji kwam na dikho. Jitang lame nenjor ni de gumdu. Te ngo zawe lama yimba. Namba dorjen chang that to kwam na dik labgro. What in the so that's also zawe lama teba ya bu chi ko. Teba karshi chinantene so jula chinhap hyubire. What ne dokwa jeta mo hu khona yin se gongche na yo. What dokwa jeta mo hu khona yin so ten gambo be so nga so jubande okor jubande chinhap jubaime.
Wait, tokpa cheta mugu kono.
Mo hu khona yin gongche na yo. Te chi tene gambo be so re aran so ke jubande chinhap jubaime. Lame chinhap ma yo na chaza chimbo dokpan cha tu ma re so re. Ten du lame chinhap hyuga ke chimbo cha de yo re. Tene lame chinhap hyuna chaza chimbo dokpan cha tu ya pengere. Maharidha lama sanje suntong chinhap ngang ken jo wais. Lama sanje suntong na chinhap ngang krang jo ngres.
Lama
sanje suntong ya. Chinhap ngang ken jo, chinhap rang jo ngres. Lama sanje tong na. Ten du so zawe lama sanje ngo su du xie jin nga cha za chimbo. Dokwa se jie shuo samde monam de la mene jo guam sorwa dab shule. Ten du digan song 年前推出产品，现在节上车马用中国的，我在年前推出了，接泡沫出来，车马用是快对呢，那这边哪里有？是我在中多，我在哪一说这边了嘛？这旅系统呢？那叫做全部都管起来，看个的是。
And so here there's this explanation for how to meditate on the Guru Yoga. And we also, many of you are probably familiar from the section of the Mundro, which is, the practice of Guru Yoga. And so you can also practice in that way, whatever way that you're familiar with. But the main thing is to, that the Guru, the essence of the Guru is your root Guru, and that he appears in the form of Vajradhara. So his form or appearance is that of Vajradhara, and his essence is that of your own root Guru. And it's important to have really sincere faith and devotion, because the blessings will enter kind of proportionately or in accord with the strength of your faith. So as Lord Jigten Sumgon says in the Gongchik, the only means for giving rise to realization is devotion. And likewise, Gampopa says that, in our tradition and our lineage, the method for giving rise to the realization of Mahamudra is through the blessings of the Guru. And the way to access the blessings of the Guru is through the qualities or generation of faith and devotion. And so whoever sees their teacher, their guru, as the Buddha, will receive the blessings. So when that pure view is there, when there is a mind of genuine faith, and one sees the guru as the Buddha, then the blessings just naturally enter. They're naturally received. And so really seeing your own root guru as the Buddha in person. As Lord Jigten Sumgon himself said, day and night, throughout the 6 sessions of the day and night, I was never separate in my mind. I was never parted from my guru, Padma. And so in this way, by really deeply cultivating the qualities of faith and devotion, there is profound benefit. This is really what leads to, it's the source of realization. It becomes the method for realizing Mahamudra.
Lama guji kanre la mohuni ma mashana chenap chunju se mohun de la nenen dos la lama gusi kanre no be chane on de mohuni ma mala na lama chenap on chenap show to mares what is chenap chunju me jong ho de kanre se nyuma pon nyuma shu de chut ma yung gres what be mohun na yi chen chenap chunju se mohun de la nenen do zong yo ba what in du what that ke chimbo zai chi cha de chimbo to ba je ya la what chi then
and so, as Lord Jigten Sumgon says in his, Vajra song, which expresses the verses on the fivefold, the practices, the practices of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, in relation to the Guru Yoga or devotion to the Guru, he says, if the sun of devotion does not shine upon the snow mountain of the Guru's 4 kayas, then the stream of blessings cannot flow. Therefore, really dedicate yourself to generating this pure mind of faith and devotion. And so in that way, it really, if there isn't the mind of faith and devotion there, then this is likened to the rays of the sun, which have the warmth to melt, the snow of the Guru's 4 kayas. And then with the warmth of that mind of devotion, then the blessings can flow and they can enter into your mind stream. And so therefore, we should make effort in generating these sublime mind states.
What in do that the grip, Nazon Kurban del GSM, the grip this me say your mare around summer. What the Kurba said the thing do or the grip pataya, the grip Pajayala, Chor the Chorvat, Dorjesim cum des chadi uris. What in do or thing around from the Rima, Dorsangum de Chiati.
And so then the next section of the preliminary is this meditation on the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra. And so this is a really supreme way to purify the defilements or to purify the obscurations. And so without to reach the state of awakening, to become a Buddha, this requires the purification, that we purify the obscurations. And so no matter who it is, any being who is born into samsara has all of these collected obscurations and defilements. And so among all of the methods for purification, the practice of Vajrasattva is said to be the most supreme or the most effective for purifying the obscurations.
tene rang tamabe jibor bende dengtu only dorje sembal kondo garbo sheje chani ba ye dorje tukan ze yong chiu go den ba shap ye jang yong go ba rembo chi jian ji jian ba de tukan da wei jing ko den hon la ye ge je be nga ye ko ro wo zen chu ne chou shu sang jie tang chan shu semba tukan ne yi du chi jun ha de dorje sembal la tem dorje sembe gu lu tam chi che pa tu ge jun ne du chi jun chong ne shap ye pian te mo rang ge chang wo ne ma pham ne nga yi som de ge tamse nyamcha tamchi kando na po number cherpune shunton sapa mi be dusi kama ngala ngadu yige jaba dusi chana trojin zona jela doje simba rani la tim tene doje simbe kusong tong da rang kendo nga iso yenmi jeba samhin nyambar sha jego wa chas otema lo ya ta chasa.
So then just reading through this section, it says, you are in your ordinary form with a lotus and moon disc on your crown. On the moon disc stands the syllable hum, which transforms into Vajrasattva, white with one face and two hands. His right hand holds a Vajra at his heart, and his left hand holds a bell at his waist. Adorned with jewel ornaments, he sits with his right leg extended and his left leg bent. Thus meditate. At Vajrasattva's heart on a moon disc is the syllable hum, encircled clockwise by the 100-syllable mantra. As the rays of light emanate from the circling mantra, streams of elixir of the primordial awareness flow from the hearts of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and dissolve into Vajrasattva's crown. Then from every part of Vajrasattva's body, particularly from the hum syllable at his heart, elixir falls in a stream that flows from his big right toe, entering your body through your Brahma aperture and expelling in black forms all non-virtuous deeds and defilements of your body, speech, and mind, and transgressions of all samayas. Imagine that your body is filled with the stainless elixir and say the 100-syllable mantra as much as you can. At the conclusion, when you make offerings and Vajrasattva dissolves into you, your body, speech, and mind merge inseparably with Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind. Thus, imagine and set your mind evenly in equipoise, and then do the dedications.
다 지dan te yang ti gang la nga zu zawe ngo te zawe la ma ni ba namba te do je samba ni ba kom te chi te ne da de ma de te zo pa mo du te de de sama ma ta song zang te sam no dang ge wa te dang du te ne da te da han ti tu ndong wen nan sam sha ren ka te ne ze da te de de sama ma ta song zang de rang lu ti ya shirwam shok kama na我腾出恰所写的方法在学了，像看完那有就是看腾出轻松什么的呢？这都是身边给他经常对着他送些那么这样呢？我经常对着他送什么的都是身边记性的个性，这说了天送什么的，然后都是身边也没把上的什么去，我他腾出那么去更多。
And so when we practice Vajrasattva in this way, we think that the essence is our root guru and the aspect is Vajrasattva. So he's appearing in the form of Vajrasattva, but in essence, he is our root guru. And as we visualize the stream of nectar descending and entering into us through our crown, we can really think that all of our defilements and obscurations are thoroughly purified. And then when we are ready to close the session or to finish, then we think that our body has become completely clean and clear like a hollow crystal, and we are just filled to the brim with this radiant primordial wisdom nectar. And then we can think that Vajrasattva says to us, oh, all of your obscurations and defilements are now cleansed, are now purified or cleared away, and that Vajrasattva is really pleased or really delighted with this, and then he dissolves into light and then dissolves into us, and then thinking, you know, that we have merged indivisibly with Vajrasattva, we can meditate, you know, for a time, having merged with his blessings.
dine dang arang so the dorje sembe gumde yago chine yigyam bomje dona dikwa chimbo karma bu karwana ta tu gre zong re te chi tene be chang da sia da ni ma re na gong da rong be cha shan yigya ni zaksei dong do jin ni ma re dikwa da zao na to ta tu gre zong re ten du ke chimbo cha yu re te chi tene je tang tang so ti dikwa te ya ya la to bi chang ko sho re top shit that then top sana that dorje sembat so then top cha de ta dang arang so dorsan kum de ka la then je top chi then number sunji be top sen da zai do sembe byong chi ya wa de kwa zon jo ba je ya wa zhen number sunji be top wa de ji ji wa de ne nian bo gun de jo be top wa nian bo gun de jo be top sana ka re san da yi gyan dong sho wa de kwen nian bo ge wa chi ya le Maharidpa, dikwa eda san gewa chan thare zong ra, dikwa eda san gewa chan thare zong. Tene indi, wa tene tatati igyan dong ne, wa te che ya te, te nyembo kunsi chobe topchi. Wa te dombe topchin, ta penchi nge chung ta dikwa tato meji zamne, so so tamcha go. Chinchi zola pa vya mege, ta ne meji siang tamcha song, siang raga sik. Ta chinchi ta meji zamne ki te tamcha ta song go res. Wa te na yi, wa te china tene, top shit sound or top shit sound the Karina, Medado, Chun Yomare, on top shit sound Yamnachina.
And so it is said that, you know, if we do this meditation on Vajrasattva and recite the 100-syllable mantra, that there's no negativity that can't be purified. And in fact, it is advised that each day, if we, you know, if one meditates or practices, does 21 recitations of the 100-syllable mantra at the end of each day at night before going to bed, that all of the faults or the defilements or negativities that have been accumulated throughout that day become purified. So the main thing is to, when we practice Vajrasattva, to do so together with the 4 powers. So first there is the power of support. So in this case of practicing Vajrasattva, the support is Vajrasattva himself. That becomes like the source of reliance, the support. And then secondly, there's the power of regret. So this regret is sort of symbolized by the nectar, the descending nectar in the visualization. But together with, you know, as we visualize the nectar entering into us and descending, then we also have a mind of regret or remorse in terms of, like, you know, whatever negativities or obscurations that have been accumulated. And then third is the power of the antidote. So the power of the antidote is the recitation of the 100-syllable mantra. And it's essentially the practice of virtue. You know, the virtue that is being applied is the antidote. And so as Milarepa has said, the way to purify negativity through confession is in reflecting upon or practicing virtue. So it is through virtue that purification occurs. And then the 4th power is the power of resolve. So this means, you know, the commitment, the resolve not to repeat the negativities, not to continue creating these non-virtues or obscurations. And so, as Raga Abse has said, to have a resolve that is so intense that, like, even at the cost of your life, you wouldn't, you're determined not to repeat the negativity. So in this way, we want to have all of the four powers present. And when all of the four powers are present, it is said that they're, especially in the practice of this recitation of the 100-syllable mantra, there's no negativity that can't be purified.
tene tanga so jitanti moro to the sketching boy in zone jigan zone xianjin meza ba yang de sa zone wa ta xianba to sabo ma ji kong sabo zi shu skar sana ben kangba zai jab na mingdo de sketching boy res wa mingdo tempo mina kangba de ya bo lang tu ma re sla jitan han tang yema ina ho zi so kangba de ja gro ta ting ta ha ma so ro kangba de mingdo go sho mi
Bula.
Fulang ma tambo mingdo se doje zai wa ti gang de den kang ba ya so gro sha ti mingdo te mangdo tempo mina kang ba ya so sha de ya bo lang tu ma wa wa te la shu ta ting dang so jia dang da ma da so de zai jin han mingdo yo ji ma wa sha de sha ha ku za ma wa wa te yin du wa be ten du da sha re wa te yin du wa de ke chin bo re de ga so nyam na cha mai ke zai ma jin da mo cha de yo re wa ti ngong ro so wa te yin du 오늘 제 개침보레스 타당아도 공체 나요. 데미 자롱 담배 상매자스. 어때미는 자롱 담바도 상제 특별 말레스.
디 메나 이제 디 공책 나나? 어르가레?
공체 나요. 데미 자롱 담배 상매자스. 어때모로도 장조 셈도 미나 자롱 담배 상제 특별 말레스. 어송으로 와텐디.
원로 당장 셈메나.
어때서 미나?
네 상제 그만해.
어때서 그만해스. 어자롱 담배 상지 두고 말해서 어좀 라텐도 어서 쟁으로 대 단지견 정도를 나나 제가 개침 보러 가는 수좀 여보 나다 어디 등행중 비싸모다 돼서 야고 제 맞나 근데 용어 말아 봐 어때 제제 참여게도 개침 보자 차대 그래 장소 샘도 어떻게 하나 이게다 라메친 하우슈가리 도제 셈베금데 디게냐 또 상마 개침 보 차대 근데 오늘도 저 야고 소소 줄제나 냠나체서 가르치나 냠나체 람지가 어쨌든 소소 편토 침보 용레스
So, in conclusion, these Ngundro or preliminary practices are so important. So as Lord Jigten Sumgon says, what others consider to be less profound here, or in other words, I consider to be the most profound. So it is like the foundation, the very foundation or cornerstone of a house or a building. So in Tibet, they always began building a house, with what's called the mingdo, or like the kind of like the main, it's literally like the name stone. So maybe this would be like the cornerstone. These days, he said, who knows? He doesn't know how buildings or houses are built, probably maybe without this cornerstone. But they have these other methods with like metal or what have you. But in any case, the meaning being that, the foundation has to be really strong in order to have like a successfully built building or house. And so really the practice of Ngundro is the same. In order for one's practice to progress in the right way, to really be successful, there has to be the foundation of the solid foundation of Ngundro, or the preliminaries. Likewise, it says in the Gongchik that if one doesn't have, the foundation of the preliminaries in bodhicitta, there's no way to reach the state, attain the state of Buddhahood. That the Buddhahood is contingent upon these preliminary kind of foundational cultivated factors. And so it's very important. If we don't have this, then how do we give rise to renunciation? So to reflect, as it says here, on the preliminaries of four thoughts, that kind of really exemplified by the reflection upon death and impermanence, and to connect with the blessings of the Guru through the mind of faith and devotion, and to purify obscurations through the practice of Vajrasattva. These are all so important as kind of the preliminaries to our practice. And if these preliminaries are practiced well, then it will really ensure that our path of practice unfolds accordingly, and it will be of great benefit.
다 트레이닝 전삼샤 선인의 마멘데 지시 되네 기내 심만도 되네 다 트레이닝 전삼샤 되네 처바잖아 가시오 서마래.
So here we can close here for this evening, and then tomorrow he'll finish this section by going through the section on the practice of mandala and like the accomplishment mandala, the offering mandala, and then we'll just continue with the text, with beginning with calm abiding, and now we can have a little bit of time for question and answer. So there were already a couple of questions that have come in, so we can begin with these questions. So the first one is, the question is,
Virginia, sorry. Abulama want to say something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Before beginning teaching, Drupon was teaching, I want to say something, but something how to say, I'm light. Anyway, thank you, Drupon Rinpoche, coming to our center teach. Thank you so much. Also,
thank you, Abalama.
Also, I want to say everybody, thank you, join with Drupon Rinpoche teaching. This is wonderful. I hope everybody enjoying all teachings. Also, everybody get receive blessing, and everybody happy. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, so we can continue with the question and answer then. So the first question is to clarify the section of Tumo in the Chakra Samvara practice, how to practice it, what are signs of success, and which 3 syllables burn in the initial part of the visualization. Should one focus on the central channel or also 2 side channels, and in general, how to practice it? So, dini de dimcho la tumo yorwala. So, de nyamlin chebe kala, dini de dangpo dina de yapo gongi obage ta gare yore. Dini yang de dru sum yorwa, dini dru sum dito dangpo mikpa chedu de sik dro Sik gogioreve. Tini yang mikwa gandri chegogore so de sa uma gom gogorebe yang na de pena jangma dang roma yang yapo gom gogorebe chitang nyamlin chitang gandrere.
tata jitang arang su tini zo chiwa tata ni kang chiwa dang yapon do sirwa. Tichi tin tata de jitang tata dimcho te nyamlin chidu the domo gomya the zidang za zom te chang gu za zom chi ne te ne the da hi de ya me ba ne te ne yige zom po se cai de ne yige zom po cai sa du yang su sa 이게 좀 소네 되네 야도모리 야 메티 시험 발시래 말이지 이게 좀제 사이들이 함 같이 아마 하면 이게 좀 소 와서 소사들 되네 단냠네티 뭐 멤버십 지가 아니면 지고야 in those arms or to do those arms.
So first, just wanted to say it would be best to kind of limit the questions to the topic that is being discussed presently or this evening. But in terms of your question here, so when during this section of Tummo, when practicing Chakrasambhara, you are visualizing the 3 channels. And then at the point below the navel is the ashe, and the flame, and then you have the 3 syllables in the 3 places, and you have the white hung, inverted hung at the crown. And so the flame below the navel blazes and burns away the 3 syllables, and then the hung drips, the white hung drips, and then this then restores the 3 syllables that have been burnt away, and then causing the flame of Tummo to burn brighter. And so in this way, this is kind of briefly how to practice in this section. So then the second question is, I am a disciple of the Chakrasambhara initiation by Rinpoche in September 2021. And I remember that the organizer was Drikung Seattle. Rinpoche instructed Samaya that the Samaya is 100,000 times mantra accumulation. When I want to take this deity as daily practice, I found that there are 8 types of mantra in the text, including the deity's father and mother. The Buddha's including the deity's father and mother mantra, the Buddha's father and mother near essence mantra, and the 4 Dakini mantra. I want to know if there is a clear requirement for the number of mantras to be recited for above 8 mantras, since there is no such requirement in the simple text of the 5 deities given by Rinpoche. For the sake of rigor, I just came across your Dharma message about the Drupon's teaching, so I would like to take this opportunity to ask you about it. Dini Hagawa Gupa lo Niptong Nishutsache, Rinpoche, Dini Rinpoche Su Sumpayena Pache, Garchen Rinpoche Yena, Dini de Dimcho ge Wang Kuriorwa. Dini de Rinpoche ge de Damsek de Bumche de nga Bumche saya ki Damsek yore sum yore. Yeni yang di ka la dini kong de Gyundu Dimcho Nyamlin Chego Samne, dini de Choga Druptak Tadu, dini yang nune de nga J Tamba yore. Dini pena Yav Dang Yum ge nga ni yore. Dini yang de pena Yav Dang Yum de nyen negi nga yorewa. Dini yang de Kandoji gi nga yang yore. Dini de nga rere la de Jepa Ditso la de pena rere la mixagi danka saya yorebe. Gayan sana dina de dupe dor dupe ge la nga ge choga de la nga rere ge damsek pacherio samare yene yang dina de katse sa go biona so rere shindu
제탄치나 들이 생각하자야테 단 범죄 사나 야 님바다 년년이 범죄를这是咋过的是되네 다다 인칸로시다 용음도 틀을 사나 되게
Kandoji boom
용니 그냥 많이 여러 님보다 년년이 칸로시 여러 와서 틀을
tirere. So yaki de soodang meaning de boom rere. De boom ji go gyose.
bomb redan bomb shirwada konto tamse bomb je yo se la sonate
Ale okay yeah. So then, so generally speaking, then in this case, you would do 100,000 for the like main father mantra, and then you would also do 100,000 for the near essence mantra, and then with the Yum mantra or the mother mantra and the near essence mantra and the 4 dakinis. You would do 10,000 for each of those. Dini di kongta de yab gi dini di yab yena dini bumni yorwa rebe bumche dini yang yeah okay last one so is that clear? So I think this was all I had as far as what was sent to me for the questions. Is there anything else?
That's right.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, there are some from inside the temple.
Okay.
My question is, how does co-emergent Mahamudra relate to 5-part Mahamudra? I'm wondering, especially because they're both from Jigten Sumgon. And is this just an expounded part of part 4 of the 5 parts?
Dini di linchik chejor dang chaching ngadin gidrawa penadina de Drawa Gandre Yemba Samlo Tangiore, Lapardu de Jigten Sumgon, Nika Jigten Sumgon Yongwarawa, Yang de Linchik Chejor Pena de Chaching Ngadin, Ke Pena de Detsin Jipa, Chaja Chimbo, Rang Rebe, Pena Linchik Chejor Dendat.
Oh, Tiri, Jidam. That the Garchen Buddhist Institute, Jidam Gaju Samala Yore, Chosen Henry Military Kala Yore. What at the so Chosen Guardian said, Jidam Military, but Zuba Yore and Jiba Shirayuma, so that one going out Pomotrik, Defense on the China chewing upon Che Machus. Chona Jun Yamlanchi is chewing upon Сезон chewing out. The Chidu then again from Yamna Yabochi, Koran Yamno Yabochi, or Tene Chidu, Tene then defense on the Lama Chine, Chasing Aden by Chapendon Child. The man Jatamala Picana, you Simtianam, Ningi Gomes, Simtianam Ningi Gomes, that's how many chances of Mumiatri. Ranu to get Chimbo Gomes, the Ranu to get Chimbo Gomiati, Yadam Gomiari. Then George Lama Gomes, what the George Lama Gomia Chi, Company urine things, or the Dombani urine thing at the urine Gomes, or the Chasa Chimbo Gomiachi, or then the Jelam over Jay tops, what a Jelam over Jay tops, more cheese, then what is on Malaria, what is Jelam over Jay tops, or Jelam over Jay tops, what then do. What they do, or they are it, and that is Gumbo Bat, that is my Pomotra, that Pomotra, and you can got in the watching. That Chunga on the Yabon Yamnachi is Chunga on the Samajiwa, Tre Machus, was a song, what they do, then you can that Chelsea Adams, don't not need Yamnachi out. One then those choice.
Gampo Pagmodrubala Sungure.
Pomotra and you can.
Oh, Gonta. Okay.
Well, then Chunga won't too much use in the Gumbo Gala, Yores, Gumbo Lima, the Jipa Shirayoma Gumbo Bat. Or then do the Pomotrik, Tene, depends on what Chunga will share much use. What is on the Tetra Yamna Chunga on the cheese store. But then do nothing on the money sound the Yore. Those choice, not that the Jetansi Chancho Semna, you don't have Gomiati. And I'm Docho, Chancho Sem, the Mova on Dochochi. You're not sure.
Chang Sem Dango.
Actually, Yidam Gomiachi, or not Jerem Chol, Yidam Gomiachi, Zorem Kola, Lama Gushida, Chaza Chimbo Gomiachi, Jetoni, not Sensi and Semi, Razorem, on Sensi Lama Gushi Gomiachi, Semi Dzogchen the Chada Shimbugumia. What a Jezo Donghani Jezo Sama San the Yame Chia to the Jigan Zo Chapan, Jigan, the Jichi, Konke Zonka, the Subtu Manchi, that Chasing Adent Yamna Chia, Razo Shayori, or Tindu, or the 지난 차선 현재 지조자는 야말라리 배경 권 차선 현재 지조 고리 요리 내가 주 그만 삼만이 요리这当时没俺做前的是那这当桥在进步做坏进步等着问着我的基本着我的但这当时呢这小块收入让着的那把肯定有了才就有的我到把肯定有了这桥上현재 지조那些下呢这哪一点肯定有了
肯定有
有了是有法了养怕些肯定是差了哇我的有了现在有了我这样的我的了但是当做我桥上현재 지조是下的我的阳光公主这种的我这样的我的那小组是基本上的我的
yeah.
And
the kare the shabkar ki the depth share
طبعا肯定有了这昨天提的
Oh yeah, the flight of the Garuda you said right Okay. So yini yang de chowo pena linchik chejor dang chitang de pena chaja chimbo de chakching ngading kala gombe ki chibada o yo sarwa
나 치바 그래요 저는 처선 나한테 나 샤디 생각이 자 친구 소원다 동요 로자 친구 동요 로샤 이제 저 강 뒤가 나서 예와 세디 좀 지요 말와
So he said that, so as far as the co-emergent unification, this is very widespread, like in the kind of teaching on Mahamudra. It's also, you know, in one of the songs of Milarepa, sort of this way of explaining Mahamudra. And same with the fivefold path of Mahamudra. This is also, for instance, Milarepa also taught the fivefold path of Mahamudra, but not explicitly in the same way that it was really established by, say, Lord Jigten Sumgon. So Pagmo Drupa told his disciples and Lord Jigten Sumgon in particular never to part from the four dharmas, being the fivefold path of Mahamudra, or the five dharmas being the fivefold path of Mahamudra. And so Lord Jigten Sumgon, then practicing that well, gave rise to experience and realization. And then when he asked, Pagmo Drupa asked his disciples, you know, what understanding, there was a teaching that was given, and he asked, you know, what understanding it was that the disciples came away with, and when and Lord Jigten Sumgon then in that at that time then gave a clear explanation of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. But also Milarepa really taught these five stages, or the fivefold path of Mahamudra, also. And for instance, in one song he explains, you know, that he says first one should meditate with compassion, love and compassion for all sentient beings. And then one should arise, you know, one's body in the form of the great compassionate one. So first one should meditate on love and compassion for all sentient beings is the first of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And then one should arise one's form as the great compassionate one is the Yidam deity. And then he says one should meditate, you know, with one's guru at the crown, above the crown of one's head. So then that becomes the Four-Kaya Guru Yoga. And then he says one should meditate, following that, one should meditate for a long time on the meaning of emptiness. And so then that corresponds with the Mahamudra. And then finally, or in conclusion, one should seal with the perfect dedication. And so then that becomes the fifth of the fivefold path, which is the practice of dedication. And likewise, Gampopa also taught the fivefold path of Mahamudra, but in a similar way, like not explicitly. But then it was Pagmo Drupa who really said to Lord Jigten Sumgon, you should never separate from the practice of these these five dharmas. And then it was Lord Jigten Sumgon who really established it as, like this progressive path of practice. But the fivefold path of Mahamudra, it really contains the entirety of what is all that is taught within the sutras and tantras. So first, the practice of both bodhicitta, love and compassion, and bodhicitta, and dedication fall into the category of sutra. And then the practice of the Yidam deity and the four kaya guru yoga and Mahamudra fall into the category of tantra. And so the practice of the Yidam deity is the generation stage with characteristics, and the practice of the four kaya guru yoga and Mahamudra becomes the completion stage. So, and then the four kaya guru yoga and Mahamudra become the completion stage. So the four kaya guru yoga is the completion stage with characteristics, and the practice of Mahamudra is the completion stage without characteristics. And the Yidam deity is the generation stage. So in this way, just as Lord Jigten Sumgon says, throughout his teachings, the Zapchu teachings, he stresses the importance of these practices of the fivefold path of Mahamudra, kind of as the embodiment of the entire path of Sutra and Tantra. And really, Mahamudra and Dzogchen are like one and the same. So there's really not much difference in meaning there. They are really the same view. So much of what is found, for instance, in Chatkar's teaching of the flight of the Garuda, there's a teaching on Dzogchen, really embodies the essence of Mahamudra. And Jamgon Kunto, Lagaresu?
Chaksen Lenje Jor Shishan, there no see Shapar cutting Navan cutting your lot. Shit the Shaken Lenje John Dead Chinos on.
And in fact, Jamgon Kundro has said that the teachings of the co-emergent unification of Mahamudra are really like expressed, or that which is kind of the basis, or the so Gari the Tawa Kading Jire or Chakchen. Oh, okay. So the kind of foundation for the teachings of the flight of the Garuda are the co-emergent unification of Mahamudra. And so really there isn't any real difference there. And as to your question as like whether how it relates, the co-emergent unification with the Mahamudra in the fivefold path of Mahamudra. It's really just that the five that are expressed as the kind of five practices that go in tandem with, or that are practiced together with Mahamudra in the fivefold path of Mahamudra, vary somewhat in comparison to what the other kind of supporting elements are in terms of how they are laid out in the co-emergent unification.
근데 제단지 처장가 된 Drikung 거주 지고 말이야. 제단 냠내한테 단 Drikung 거주 조 처장가 된 지기로 하면 거주 현발라 요래. 간마 봐. 군행 제바 마초도지. 어떻게 이제 처장가 된 요래. 근데 샤마르 군행
그 쿠드링 제바래.
마초도지. 뭐 처장가 된 들어와 된도 요래. 디가 나지 그 다다 샤마르 군행 시와티 이제 샤라 요래. tene
Shamar Kutringdare.
kunai shiba injire kja. Chi. Tene karma gaju na babu zula tuma cheje yo. Konke ang chasen ga de der shabe.
Su
Babu zula tuma la.
Pawo
Zula.
Sungla.
Zula tuma ze khale. Zula tuma. Tike chasen ga de der yidam jenen se ja shabe. Tendu yore.
Yedam.
yidam jenen se chi shabe. Tendu yore. Tega na yike this the kun ka she ke yore. Tene Tadati Drupa Gajuke, then Drupa Gunjan Pema Garbochi, or Tigana Gike,
Drupa Pema Karpo,
or Drupa Pema Garbochi, or Tigana in Drupa Gaju, Lama Mambo Hunty Chatanga, Direction of Yuri, or Timana, the Gaju Shimbat is okay, and Chatanga and Direction of Yuri, that's all. Yamnachi, so then they go Gaju, Chirba, the Gama Gaju, Mambo, the Jikan water Shishane, Jerry.
Gongda Jemati.
The Gama Gaju, and Drua Manchi, that didn't Drua Gaju to Drua Manchi, that you can some Chelsea at the talking word, Yurua. Or Terra Shishan and Jerry, yes.
So it isn't just the Drikung Kagyu who, that have really emphasized or kind of elaborated upon the importance of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. There are actually many throughout the various Kagyu traditions who have emphasized the importance of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. So, for instance, the 8th Karmapa Mikyo Dorjee wrote an extensive commentary on the fivefold path of Mahamudra. Also, the 4th Shamar Rinpoche wrote also a commentary on the fivefold path of Mahamudra. Also, there was a master of the Karma Kagyu by the name of Pawo Zula Tringwa, and he wrote a commentary on the fivefold path of Mahamudra with Chenra Zeg as the Yiram practice. Also, a couple of the incarnations of like Situ. This Situ Rinpoche also wrote wrote commentaries on the fivefold path of Mahamudra, and also a number of masters from the Drukpa Kagyu lineage, like Drukpa Pema Karpo, and other Drukpa Kagyu masters wrote commentaries on the fivefold path of Mahamudra. But it was mainly, so many have written commentaries, but mainly it is a practice that is practiced as sort of the progressive stages of the path in the Drikung Kagyu lineage. Many who have written commentaries in other lineages or other Kagyu lineages have mainly also used as the basis Lord Jigten Sumgon's song, famous song on the fivefold path of Mahamudra.
Please check your WhatsApp. They have one question.
Okay.
Also, Vietnamese translator, please check your Zoom chat. They have a Vietnamese question. Can you translate it to English, please? Thank you.
Okay, so I have the first question here from the WhatsApp is, if I feel content and compassion, I feel the world is very pleasant and nice. How should I unite that feeling with renunciation? So, the Jamdang Ningje, Temlayona, the Zambaling, Big Kipo Yore, Yapo Yore, Sorg Yoroa, Yiniang Ninjung Cheyaki Chidu, Dene Shinlo Chego Garawa, Dene Pena Jamdang Ninji, Yona Sama Yapo Yore, Kipo Yore, Sam Gyoroa, Dene Yang de Ninjung Dang Rawa Chewa, Ninjung Cheyala, Dande Chego Sare.
That's it, Sirwa. Then I thought so the Ninjung meets on the charming state of your Maris. Garis and around Sota. The Ran so that he was the Dafa Demban Ziger one around so. The Dafa Demban Zid, tell it then, the charming gets this much shown the moon of Hore. Harsana Ranso was Chicago Hore, they can't 제가 샤트 표마 된도 어때 연중 미송 좀在차로 된도 나 연중에서 야고 在接的那真的当然了有人不大话讲你这先把这个年纪才拿起的 something 个在前面就是要接触要偏给的什么的吧我真的前面就是要我们咱们能充满对我有的你像中国推进不了他在加油是公车那种是吧推进不了他在那加油的是可是这他在加油的是他在上所以可是呢咱们能结果让我在求进吧前面这件吧前面这强求什么的有的结果在咱们能充满给我就前接呢这跟咱们能充满得起点的别人嘛搞把昨天是推拿应用给的是中国的我这另外当初的其他中把那前面这的被开情报的这样呢咱们能这些用给我是你那他这个当初在这个他这有我当个当初当时写着在让错的先错在你从这点呢我这说大话点把修从的话这对的这在研究怎么蛮其实也是
So his response to this was that actually, without renunciation, it's impossible to have real love and compassion arising in the mind stream. And the reason for this is because without renunciation, we just have this strong kind of self-centered attitude, the strong self-grasping, and also the clinging to things as true and permanent. So we think, of ourselves as truly existent and kind of like real and permanent, and likewise with the concept of self, there's a strong concept of others. There's this sort of fixation to true existence, and with that, strong attachment and aversion based on the duality of self and others, and mainly, just fueled by the self-cherishing attitude. So first, with the mind of renunciation, this starts to kind of break through that strong fixation. And then as we place less importance on ourself, or the self-grasping starts to loosen up a bit or become to diminish, then we start to regard the welfare of others as being more important than, for instance, our own well-being. And so then based on that, then there can really start to develop the mind of love and compassion. As you, with regard to what you said about, when love and compassion is in the mind, then the world becomes a beautiful place, essentially, something like that. And so Lord Jigten Sumgon says in the Gongchik that the increasing and decreasing, that occurs, kind of cosmologically speaking, in relation to time, sort of in relation to the like increase period of a kalpa or the decrease period of a kalpa. He said that increase and decrease happens like now in this moment, and that it isn't dependent upon like the external progression of time, but that it actually is dependent upon like the love and compassion of sentient beings, or the virtue essentially of sentient beings. So for instance, if there is a king who has great love and compassion, and then all of the entire kingdom is affected by that, and the beings there start to practice the 10 virtues, then all of the merit and virtue collectively increases, and then the experience becomes one of like an increasing period in time, or an increase period of a kalpa, and so therefore the degenerate age can actually be counteracted through the increasing of merit, through the increase of virtue, the collective increase of virtue. And so And so mainly, again, coming back to the role of renunciation here, renunciation then diminishes this like grasping to concepts of true existence and subject-object fixation, and the self-cherishing attitude, and that really creates the capacity for love and compassion to develop, which then further diminishes the mind of self-grasping.
야, 된도에다.
So is there another question?
들어와. 된다 주소 신사래. 아멘.
So actually, if there isn't, then we've also come to the end of our time for the session.
Hi, hello. I have one question. In the 7 supplications to Tara, it says it's difficult to understand our own mind as Buddha's mind, seeing nature mind, but not familiarizing with it through practice. We are lost in unwholesome worldly activities. How does one know they've seen nature mind, and how does one familiarize it with it through practice?
Mare de penarang simging o de tonga yena mena gande hako gere. Deni garsi tonga yena yang de gombar cheba gande cheju yore. Tenda de kin de.
Ale te tone gombar cheba. Chawagi de yuas yon chebe ham jao se mare.
Dampo de ko de tok ba yena mena gande hako ya yore. Yang niba de yang cheya de kyongya ki chitu gande chebo gere.
that's the doba imi te so nyamna chi gores nyamna chi yung doba imi te so do gores xian ji jo mi xian ji ji xian ju tu mari xian ji ji ba xian ji jo mi xian ji ji se rana nyamna chi ne rang ta sem ne ro de lu jin do zam ne so nyam nyong ne do hona se ta ha ko gores so wa te xian ji jo mi xian ji ji kan tu yang min hi se lam bo wa te so te te 我这做我这说说娘娘去的，但娘光对面慢慢的来说说，我这相关内容，但这里啥的咱们娘们去，我这store 过去的是，我这多啥对的呢？他这对听着多呀，都那其实说那这做的，你那他这后面这在古专注去光家过去呢，俺这其他光嘛，他们那这样这那那出去写就嘛吧。
So whether or not one has realized the true nature of one's own mind can really only be determined, through one's own practice. So it isn't something that somebody can kind of determine for you or can even really explain to you. So as is said, this co-emergent nature, true nature of awareness, can't really be completely or accurately described by someone else. And, there isn't like, no one can say, oh, this is exactly, here it is, here's the nature of mind. It is something that has to be realized, individually for oneself. And it isn't something that can be kind of like identified to abide in any specific way or place or location. But through experience, through practice, when one comes to kind of understand this, and there's an experience that is, definitively different from what one has known as awareness prior to this, then there can be, oh, this is the true nature of awareness. This is the true nature of mind. This must be it, and then that identification becomes more and more confident over time, and then once it is realized, it is, then one has a basis for habituating it, and the way to habituate it is through dedication, through diligence. But if it hasn't been recognized, if it isn't realized, then there isn't any way to habituate it. So first it has to be realized, and then once it is realized, then that recognition has to be habituated through diligence, through dedication.
I think now okay.
Okay.
So today our the teaching just stop here. So tomorrow will be continued. Right now, let's do dedicate.
Tomorrow, 8 o'clock, right?
Yeah, tomorrow start at 8 o'clock.
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle time.
Yeah, Lama, dedication.
Okay, page 11.
Yeah, okay.
By this merit, may I attain omniscience. Having defeated the enemy, my wrongdoings, may I liberate all beings who are tossed in the ocean of samsara, the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Whatever virtues sentient beings possess, whatever good they have done, will do, or are doing now, whatever goodness there may be, may it permeate all beings everywhere. By the virtue accumulated throughout the 3 times by others and myself, may all beings fulfilling the reaches of space enter the gateway of the unexcelled path. May they attain the Vajra holder's ground. By all the virtue actually performed and mentally created by myself and all sentient beings of the 3 times, may all beings of the 6 realms attain the 5 kayas, realize the primordial wisdom of the Buddhas in the Dharmadhatu mandala of the awakened mind. Glorious root guru, precious one, who sits upon a lotus at my heart, hold me with kindness and grant me all accomplishments of enlightened body, speech, and mind. I pray for the excellent health of the guru. I pray that he lives a supremely long life. I pray that his activities spread far and wide. Grant blessings that I may not be separate from my guru. Buddha's teachings, the only source of benefit and happiness, endure long, and may the victory banner of longevity be steadfast who uphold the teachings. May the sound of the great Dharma drum liberate all sentient beings from suffering. Please remain and teach the Dharma for infinite millions of kalpas. By the might of this powerful merit, may the aspirations of the benefactors and their circles be accomplished within this very life. May their obstacles be pacified. May everything be auspicious. May their wishes be fulfilled according to the Dharma. Just as the hero Manjushri realized things as they are, and as did Samantabhadra too, I will follow in their path and perfectly dedicate all these virtues. As all such dedications have been praised as supreme by the victorious ones of the 3 times, I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue to excellent conduct. By the blessing of the Buddhas who attain the 3 kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging nature of reality, by the blessing of the undivided Sangha, may my prayers be fulfilled according to this dedication. By the virtues accumulated in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, by the root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious awakening. Patradara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gampopa, Maitripa, and Lord Jigten. May the auspiciousness of all the Kagyu lamas prevail. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind, root and lineage gurus, divine assembly of yidams, assemblies of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, heroes and heroines, yogini and her assembly of dakinis, all of you dwelling in the 10 directions, please heed me. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of attachment, hatred, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May thoughts of fame, reputation, respect, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. May I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. Gain the supreme attainment, Mahamudra, in this very life. Moment of death, may I not experience the suffering of being abruptly severed from this life. May I not suffer a terrible death, confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind itself and in the crystal clarity of Dharmata. May I in any case gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the Bardo. Long life prayers. Tibetan?
Yeah, what?
Okay.
Right? Kare rabe korbe shinkam se pentan deva alu jome ne jeren siwan dinsi jansu ye japi sente varsu denjuru jeye Cho gundu anya senge ye tenpa zijin berbe dani Guzan Joban Rodon Chelen Jo Lendro Jitsu Lama Zurwa Yo Wancho Somje Dani Drikung Ba Tenpa Zila Daji Tu Jin Tu Tambi Chuji Shisi Nawa Ye Jigu Wujin Choke Shapian Zo Yuna Aryara Deva Shen Donkam Chosu Garje Reksu Chong Jikten Gombu Tuxie Chudin Abanden Garchen Gutse Garjara Sheja Gunze Gunchen Chuje Dendere Nila Wanto Drikung Rinchen Dorjee Senti Varara Yedro Tusan Gombi Jurje Kolo Jurve Jarbu Don Jentong Garba Bo Sanje Don Kala Zumba Jeren Sela Chanson de Manu Be Me Hore Manu Be Me Hore Manu Be Me Hore Manu Me Hore Manu Be Me Hore Manu Be Me Gewan de nyortu da jeren sewan rujurne Androva jejam maluva te salango. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all the translators. Thank you.